Okay, I'm going to get started by welcoming all of you guys. Welcome to Wat Tung Yu. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Today is actually the third day of a 5-day course that I'm teaching, and I realize some of you guys might just be here for the morning, and that's fine, but just realize that I'm in the middle of teaching a course, and whenever we do that, when we have our regular classes, we just invite you guys all in to be able to join in for the course if you like. You're welcome to stay as short or as long as you like. What we're going to be doing is starting with meditation, and then afterwards I'm going to do a talk on transforming the three poisons of craving, anger, and ignorance. This is where you can learn what the Buddha discovered about the unenlightened mind and why you keep experiencing things like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of these feelings and others can actually be eliminated from the mind through training of the mind. That's what it means to attain enlightenment, that you've trained your mind to the point where it's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. An enlightened being no longer experiences any of those discontent feelings. You can get to the point where your mind's focused, you have concentration, clarity, and deep memory. You can get to the point where all your relationships are harmonious. You don't have bitterness and harshness and hostility in your mind any longer. Right now, you might actually be thinking that it's other people who are causing you to be angry or frustrated or annoyed or other discontent feelings like this, but it's actually coming from your own mind, and I'm going to be teaching you this in a way that you can independently verify. None of the teachings of the Buddha are based in belief. He's not teaching you to believe a bunch of things and then hope something good happens when you die. He's actually teaching you to learn how to train your mind in this life so that you can experience peace and joy in this life. So I'll get started with that after our meditation. If you'd like to join for meditation, the way that I start this is with some chanting in order to be able to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. If you'd like to chant along, you're more than welcome to. We have the chanting sheets over there on the cabinet that you're welcome to help yourself to and be able to get one so that way you're welcome to chant along. During the lifetime of the Buddha, they used chanting as a way to help them commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. So you can see from the origins of chanting that this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, or anything like that. This was used as a learning tool, as a learning device during the lifetime of the Buddha, where today we use it as a way to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So for those of you guys that are online, you can get one of these chanting sheets by going to our website at buddhadailywisdom.com. You can click on free books, and if you scroll down towards the middle of that page, you'll see the chanting sheet. If you look at the English translations on these sheets, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants himself, because the Buddha wouldn't have walked around and said, "Here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me." This would be ego or arrogance if somebody did this. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you've eliminated the ego. You no longer put yourself above people or below people. So the Buddha wouldn't have created these chants for himself and asked people to chant these to him. But instead, if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, and frustration and all those other discontent feelings to this peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment, and this teacher didn't want anything or expect anything from you, they were just helping you out of the kindness of their heart, you'd probably have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for that person too. So that's why I think these chants actually came from his students, either during his life or after his death. So if you'd like to chant along, you'll see more benefit as you're easing into the meditation. Once we're in the meditation, I'm going to be providing you some guidance so that I'm essentially going to be teaching you and instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Then there's going to be a period of time of quietness where we're all meditating. Everyone here at the temple and anyone joining online will just all be meditating at the same time. Now, during this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear some cars going by, a dog barking, a bird chirping, someone here might cough or sneeze. This is all normal. If you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence, when you hear a sound, you'll cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. This is why you can actually eliminate these discontent feelings, because it's the mind itself that's causing them. In the unenlightened state, you'll have a craving for permanence. And when the mind gets what it wants, it gets happy and excited about that. But when you don't get what you want, your mind will get angry or frustrated or annoyed. So if you're in meditation craving permanent silence and when you hear a sound, you'll cause your mind to be annoyed. But you can understand that the world is impermanent. Things are constantly changing. You're not going to be able to meditate in an environment where it's permanently quiet. It's just not possible. So sounds are going to arise, they're going to change, and then they're going to fade away. And if you're in meditation, understanding that when you hear sounds, you can just understand that, yeah, this is the way the world works, is that the world around us is impermanent. So there'll be that period of time of quietness, and then we'll come out of that with some more chanting. And then that's where I'll start today's class, helping you guys to understand the three poisons, this high-level description of what's going on in the unenlightened mind. And then we're going to focus on the solutions of how to fix it as well. And we're going to take a mid-morning break. Then we're going to come back and I'm going to teach the 5 precepts. If you guys would like to learn that too, you're more than welcome to. These are 5 impactful decisions that you could make either wisely or unwisely, and it's going to produce either wholesome results for you or unwholesome results for you. If you've heard that the Buddha taught no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, no intoxicants, this isn't actually from the Buddha. He never taught those kinds of things. I'm going to be using the original words of the Buddha to help you see what he actually taught. Those things that I just shared sound like black and white. It sounds like rules and commandments. The Buddha didn't teach that way. So I'm going to help you guys to see that. And then after our lunch break this afternoon around 2 o'clock, I'm going to be teaching walking meditation. This is really helpful if you have an overactive mind and the last thing you're thinking about is being still and you would like to do a meditation where there's movement in the body. And it's also helpful if you notice you're falling asleep in meditation too. So you guys are welcome to come to any part of this that you like. And I'm even going to be teaching on Thursday, and even on Friday I'm going to be taking people out for a tour. So there's lots of events here that you guys are welcome to participate in if you like. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught, which is seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times as part of your journey to enlightenment. We have courses and retreats that will help you to learn these because you can use them because your body can't be in the same position permanently. It's not possible. So you would use these different positions kind of like a tool belt. They're like tools that you use at different times. But oftentimes people are learning in the seated position. So I'll give you guys some guidance on this to help you to understand how to find something that's maybe even more comfortable than you have right now. You could be sitting on the floor or in a chair. Some people at home, you might be on a bench or a sofa or in a wheelchair. You can sit however you like. There's not just one fixed way to actually sit. But if you're on the floor, you might sit with some cushions under your rear. This will kind of help soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you might just decide to do that lightly, where if they're real tight, it can impede the circulation and cause pain in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up, or some people rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you can put your hands and arms wherever you like, because there's not just one way to do this. That would be permanence, and you live in an impermanent world. Everybody's going to find different ways to do things. So you can use the things that I'm sharing with you here, or you can come up with your own way of doing things too, as long as the body's comfortable. You're not interested in it being painful or luxurious, but instead comfortable. In terms of anybody who might be sitting in a chair, a bench, or a sofa, or a wheelchair, you can also sit however you like as well. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting in a chair here with my legs crossed, so this is an option too. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. With the upper body, it's helpful if this is erect. With the sternum up and the shoulders back, it'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched like this, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you're real rigid with the upper body, the mind could be overactive or uptight. You'd like the upper body to be in the middle because it helps to keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. Meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you'd like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. So this will help you not only to keep the mind attentive and alert, but it'll make it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to do this chanting to ease into the meditation. You're welcome to join in, and then I'm going to come back in with the guidance afterwards. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเขวาพุทธังมหาเขวนังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเขวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเขวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเขวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดัมมาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสรังพุทโธภะคะวะติ Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Emakewa Potang Bhagavanang Apivateyami Sawakato Emakewata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Emakewato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso emakewa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokawito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Poto Bhagavati. Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. As I was sharing, today's the third day of a course that I'm teaching here. And after meditation, what I do is I share some topics to be able to help you understand the path to enlightenment. One of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha is people think that he meditated and instantly got to enlightenment. And this isn't actually true. It was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. There's other things you need besides meditation in order to be able to get to enlightenment. So that's why we share teachings after meditation to be able to help you to understand what it takes to be able to move the mind to enlightenment. Today, I'm going to be talking about transforming the three poisons of craving, anger, and ignorance. This is going to help you to understand the high-level description of what's going on in the unenlightened mind and why the mind keeps experiencing things like anger, sadness, frustration, and others over and over and over again. Because oftentimes people think that these feelings are coming from other people. They think they're coming from your mom or dad or your brothers or sisters, or maybe your boss is annoying you or frustrating you. This isn't actually true. You're going to be able to learn today how it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, and this is why you can eliminate them. The individual that we refer to as the Buddha over 2,500 years ago figured out how to get to enlightenment. He did this on his own without the help of any teachers or any guides. He figured out how to move his mind to this enlightened mental state. Then he spent the rest of his life sharing those teachings with other people. He dedicated his entire life to sharing those teachings, and countless people got to enlightenment during his lifetime. Then he preserved his teachings in such a way that countless more people got to enlightenment after his death. So if you're interested in this enlightened mental state, you can learn it through the teachings of the Buddha and experience it for yourself. Enlightened mind is peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you will no longer experience any discontent feelings. You will have eliminated all your anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. all of this can be eliminated. But you need to understand what's causing it. So these 3 poisons are going to help you to understand what's causing these feelings so that then you can uproot them out of the mind. As I share this with you, I'm going to be pausing a few times, opening up for questions to see if there's something you guys would like to ask. If you'd like to ask questions and you're here at the temple, we have microphones in the white bowl in the center of the room. There's also some up here in the front. You're welcome to get a microphone. Bring that back to your seat, press the gray button. You're going to see the lights come on, and then you can just hold this up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you can keep these with you because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can just share the microphone with them. And if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then for anybody who's online, you can ask questions by putting that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section, and I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions that you like. So these 3 poisons, sometimes referred to as the 3 unwholesome roots or the 3 fires, helps you to understand what's going on in your mind and why you keep experiencing these feelings over and over, certain difficulties and struggles that you have in your day-to-day life. It's important that when you're learning the teachings of the Buddha that you don't believe any of the teachings, whether it's something that I'm sharing or whether it's something that's in the books or something that anybody else is sharing. You will never get to enlightenment through belief. With belief, you don't know what's true or false. You're just believing it because somebody convinced you to believe it or you convinced yourself to believe it. What you need to do in order to get to enlightenment is cultivate wisdom. You need to be able to understand the world around you and how the world's truly functioning. This is going to help you to be able to make wiser and wiser decisions. So the Buddha never told you to believe anything. He didn't teach that. He said to come examine my teachings, come investigate them. And as you're learning them intellectually, you can reflect on them to independently verify whether they're true or false, and then you can practice his teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life, and this is where you actually see the real transformation to the condition of your mind in your life. So as I'm sharing with you today, I'm going to share with you what these poisons are or what these pollutions are in the mind, and then I'm going to be giving you examples to be able to help you understand how these are actually causing difficulties and struggles in your day-to-day life. And because I've never met most of you guys, as I share those examples, you're going to hear me describing exactly what you experience in your day-to-day life, and this is how you'll be able to independently verify what I'm sharing with you here is true, and that you actually do have these pollutions in your mind. Because once you understand that these pollutions exist, then you can actually implement the solutions, and that's what I'm going to be doing, is sharing the solutions with you of how to actually fix this. The core central teaching of the Buddha that's going to help you to eradicate these pollutions out of the mind is called the Eightfold Path. I taught this yesterday here in this course, and this is 8 individual factors that you learn in order to implement into your life. And now as you do, you practice those and it gradually trains your mind to eliminate these pollutions of the mind. But there's things that are actually targeting this craving, anger, and ignorance specifically, and we're going to focus on those as part of our talk today. So first, let's just talk about these from a high level. There's the 3 poisons, the 3 unwholesome roots, or sometimes referred to as the 3 fires. These are also known as defilements or pollutions or taints. This is what's keeping the mind in the unenlightened state. It also helps you to understand why you keep experiencing unwholesome results in your day-to-day life. There's certain things that you experience that you would rather not occur in your day-to-day life. There's certain unwholesome results. And when those things are occurring, usually what people do is blame it on somebody else. But actually everything you're experiencing in life is from decisions that you're making. That sometimes when you experience an unwholesome result, someone might say, oh, this is good luck or bad luck, or this is destiny or fate, or maybe some people think it's God or some entity called the universe that is causing you to experience certain things, or sometimes people blame it on other people. But it's actually decisions that an individual is making that's leading to any particular result that they experience in their day-to-day life. And the more that you can actually see this, then you can actually transform what it is that you're doing in terms of your decision making by transforming your mind, and now your decisions will be improved and you will experience improved results. But as long as you go around the world believing that it's good luck or bad luck, destiny or fate, that there's some being named God that's causing you to experience something, or this entity called the universe, or that it's other people, then you can't ever actually cultivate wisdom to make different decisions and then experience different results. So for example, if I'm walking down this beach and there's wind that's blowing in my face and I'm kicking up the sand and the sand is blowing back in my face, if I think, oh, this is good luck or bad luck, or oh, this is destiny or fate, or this is God or some entity called the universe, or this is other people that are causing that, then I never actually make different decisions in order to be able to experience different results. I'll just keep walking down the beach, kicking up sand, and the sand will just keep blowing back in my face. But if you can see that it's your own decisions that are leading to any particular result that you're experiencing, if there's something that you don't particularly care for that's going on in your life, all you need to do is cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and you will experience different results. But this good luck, bad luck that people are talking about is not actually true. There's no such thing as good luck or bad luck. What's occurring in your life is decisions that you're making are leading to certain results. And when you make decisions wisely, it will produce wholesome results, or wholesome karma. Or when you make decisions unwisely, it will produce unwholesome results, or unwholesome karma. To help you see that what you're experiencing in your day-to-day life is coming from your own decisions, I'd like to recommend that you ask yourself these types of questions so you can see that what you're experiencing is coming from decisions that you're making. You can ask yourself, who chose where you're sitting right now? Who chose whether or not you ate breakfast this morning? Who chose the clothing that you're wearing right now? Who chose the hairstyle that you have? Who chose the location where you live? Who chose the friends that you spend time with? Who chose the job that you currently have, or whether you're employed at all? As you can see, these are all decisions that you're making. And it's your decisions that are leading to any particular result that you're experiencing. And with these pollutions in the mind, with these three poisons in the mind of craving, anger, and ignorance, an individual will tend to make unwise decisions, and then they will experience unwholesome results. But with a lack of understanding of this, an individual will typically blame the unwholesome things that they experience on good luck or bad luck, destiny or fate, God or some entity called the universe, or they'll blame it on other people. So it's not about blame or fault or anything like that. It's about just seeing true reality and understanding how the world's truly working, and then making better decisions so that you can experience improved results. So getting these pollutions out of the mind will actually motivate wiser decisions that are going to produce more wholesome results in your day-to-day life. So these three poisons actually provide a clear description of the problems that are in one's mind, and then the solutions are going to teach you how to eliminate those so that then you can get to the peace and joy. There's also antidotes or wholesome roots here. The deepest level of description that the Buddha describes about the pollutions in the mind is called the 10 fetters. These are 10 individual pollutions that are in the mind, and they're referred to as the 10 fetters because during the lifetime of the Buddha, if you were a prisoner and they were trying to keep you confined to a certain area, they would put a shackle and a chain and a ball around your ankle and keep you in a field. This is what a fetter is. So during his lifetime, they would put this shackle and chain and ball around your ankle, and they would keep you in this open field. And now that would keep you confined to a certain area, where during our lifetime, we put prisoners in jail cells. So when the Buddha discovered these pollutions, he calls them fetters because it keeps the mind trapped in this unenlightened state where you keep experiencing anger and sadness and frustration over and over and over and over again. So what you're doing on the path to enlightenment is you're working to apply the tools and the techniques that the Buddha discovered to uproot these pollutions out of the mind. And as you do so, you will see the peace and the joy coming into the mind. It's kind of like if you had the sun and there was clouds in front of the sun and you started peeling away the clouds, the rays of the sun are going to start shining through more and more. And it's the same thing that even though we call it attaining enlightenment, one of the ways you might think about this is that your mind is already enlightened, that you have these pollutions that are in the way that are hindering you from being able to experience those qualities. And when you get those pollutions out of the way, the qualities of enlightenment can shine through more and more. The only difference in this analogy is that the clouds are going to eventually come back and block the sun again. But that's not the case with the pollutions of the mind. Once you uproot these out of the mind will no longer experience that ever again because they've been eradicated and eliminated out of the mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just helping you to understand these three poisons from a high level. Then we're going to go in and talk about them in more detail and really focus on the solutions of how to eliminate them. But you can hear from when I describe these that you're experiencing these pollutions, because I'm going to use descriptions when we get into each one of these that'll help you to be able to see that your mind actually has these. So we call this craving, anger, and ignorance, or some people refer to it as greed, hatred, and delusion. You might even hear other words like desire, ill will, and confusion. These are the ways that people refer to it. There's not just one way to refer to this. So this craving, desire, what this is the mind's longing, yearning, chasing after the objects of its affection, thinking that the next new shiny object waiting around the corner is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction. So the mind is chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. It's kind of like an unquenchable thirst that the mind thinks something in the external world is going to provide lasting satisfaction. So if the mind gets what it wants, it experiences happiness or excitement, some type of pleasant feeling, thrill or euphoria. And if the mind doesn't get what it wants, what it expects, then it experiences painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. So the mind is chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. Again, it's like an unquenchable thirst. The mind thinks something external is going to provide lasting satisfaction, and it feels like if I can just get that thing, everything in my life will be perfect. So you might have actually been places where you might have sat and thought for a little while and you were feeling these painful feelings and you were like, what do I need to feel better here? And you were like, oh, more money. That's what'll fix everything. Let me get some more money. And you might have chased after that for a while. And if you got your money, you might have been happy and excited about that, but eventually that wore off. And if you didn't get more money, then you were angry and frustrated about that. And then you were like, what do I need to feel better? You're like, maybe a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Maybe I'll get one of those. And now you'll chase after that for a while. And you'll get your boyfriend or girlfriend perhaps, and then you'll feel happy for a period of time, but then that'll wear away as well. And then you're like, what do I need to feel better here? I know what I'll do. I'll go to Thailand. That'll fix everything. Let me go to Thailand. And now you might come to Thailand and you're so excited when you get here to Thailand. But then when you have to go back home, it's like, oh, I don't want to go home. Thailand has mango and sticky rice and massages and elephants and I don't want to go home, right? So the mind is just chasing and chasing and chasing, and it can only be happy if it gets what it wants and what it expects. Those pleasant feelings, this is called conditional happiness, that you can only be happy if some condition is met. It's kind of like if my mom and dad do this, and my brothers and sisters do this, if my boss does this, if the weather is this, if my bank account is here, if I have this kind of house and this kind of car, then I will be happy. So the mind's happiness is actually shrinking. It's limited because all those things can't be true permanently. You live in an impermanent world. So when the mind's getting what it wants, it gets that happiness, excitement. But when it doesn't get what it wants, it gets the painful feelings. And one of the things that can arise is this anger, this hostility, this bitterness. And when that anger is arising, the mind firmly believes that it's something external that's causing it. It'll think that it's other people who are causing you to be angry and frustrated. And what you'll tend to do is become unskillful, where you'll push people away. This is called aversion. You might have pushed away people, or you might have pushed away a situation out of your life, thinking that they were the ones who were causing you to be angry. But you can see that they didn't actually cause you to be angry, because if they were the ones who were causing you to be angry, when you push them out of your life, you'd be peaceful from that point forward. But you see that that's not the case. Or the second thing you'll do when you don't understand that it's craving, desire, attachment that's causing your mind to be discontent is you'll be bitter and harsh and hostile to people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. It's almost like an animal growling and roaring at another animal. Or the third thing you'll do is you might put your expectations on people and try to pressure them or control them to do things your way. And people might actually be doing this to you too, where they're pushing you away. They're being bitter, harsh, and hostile to you, or they're putting their expectations on you. And as long as you're doing this, you can't live harmoniously with all beings. It's just damaging your relationships. So by you seeing that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, it actually helps you to be able to now transform it. because it's this craving, desire, attachment that's causing it. And now when this anger is arising, it thinks that it's from something external, but in reality, it's from the mind itself. And that's where the third poison comes in. It's called ignorance, or the way that I refer to this is the unknowing of true reality, the lack of wisdom, confusion, misunderstanding, a lack of wisdom that the mind has, that the mind in the unenlightened state lacks wisdom of how the world truly works. The mind has certain beliefs and false opinions and views that are not actually true. But the mind just clings to this and holds on to it without actually seeing the truth and being able to understand the true wisdom of how the mind truly works. So that's what the Buddha did, is he figured out how the mind actually truly works, and then he explained it to people so that they could also learn how to get to this enlightened mental state. So it's this lack of wisdom or this confusion that keeps the mind continuing to crave and continuing to have anger and frustration. It's like the mind is stuck in this continuous cycle, that the mind just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. So while we call it craving, anger, and ignorance, or the unknowing of true reality, it's really because of ignorance that craving and anger continues to exist in the mind. If it wasn't for this lack of wisdom, an individual would have already eliminated their cravings and they would have already eliminated their anger. But because the mind lacks wisdom and it doesn't understand that it's the mind itself that's causing these feelings, the mind continues to just believe that it's other people who are causing you to experience this, and now you stay stuck in this continuous cycle of experiencing anger and sadness and frustration over and over and over again. So there's solutions to all of this. You can actually eliminate this out of the mind. So I will share with you guys now more details about each one of these, and I'll give you some more examples, and then I'm going to focus on the solutions, because you need to verify what these are and see that your mind actually has these. Then you can actually apply the solutions to fix it. So this craving, desire, attachment, wants, and expectations. Again, that's the mind longing, yearning, and chasing after the objects of its affection. It has this unquenchable thirst, thinking that the next new shiny object waiting around the corner is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction. So it chases and chases and chases. And it can only be happy if it gets what it wants. And if it doesn't get what it wants, that's where the anger and sadness and other painful feelings arise. So think back to maybe like a boyfriend or girlfriend that you got together with, where when you guys first got together, you were maybe so happy and so excited about that. That's because the mind was getting what it wanted. It was having very minimal expectations of this person. You were getting affection, so they were calling you, checking in on you. They were maybe inviting you to the movies, to dinner. Maybe you guys were going to the park, having great conversations. Maybe you guys were having intimate contact together, and you were experiencing all these pleasant feelings. But then over time, the relationship deteriorated, and you guys broke up. And now when you guys broke up, you might have been angry or sad or frustrated. You might have been lonely or bored or missing this person. It wasn't your love that was causing this. This is the mind holding on and craving permanence. That's what the mind does with craving, desire, attachment, is it craves for things to be permanent, when in reality, everything around you is impermanent. Everything's constantly changing. This relationship was always impermanent from the very beginning when you first got together. Because even if you were together for the rest of your life, you guys were eventually going to die and you wouldn't be together any longer. But the mind craves permanence, wanting this relationship to be permanent when in reality it is impermanent. So as long as you're holding on to it, you can only get happiness when you get what you want. And when you're not getting what you want, you get sadness, anger, frustration, or some other discontent feeling, like loneliness, boredom, or you might have been missing this person. So you can see this if you've had someone close to you that has died. Maybe grandma or grandpa, mom or dad, brothers or sisters have died. When they're alive, the mind's getting what it wants, so there's a certain amount of comfort and happiness. But when they die, the mind might grieve or have sorrow or sadness because the mind's not getting what it wants. It's holding on and craving permanence. So one of the ways to say this is that the mind craves permanence, but another way to say this is that the mind does not like impermanence. It doesn't like change. You can look at your life and see when things are changing, you typically don't like this. right? If you're changing living locations, if you're changing jobs or occupations, if your relationships are changing, this is a time where you were struggling the most in your day-to-day life. And you can look at your own life and you can see this. Maybe if you got a new car or something like this, and you drove it to the store and you went inside and you came out and you saw a scratch on your car, you might get frustrated or angry or irritated by that. It's not the scratch that's causing that. And it's not the person who scratched your car. They're not the ones who are causing you to be angry or frustrated. It's the mind itself, craving permanence, wanting this car to look permanently beautiful, when in reality, this car is impermanent. It's constantly changing. The paint's going to fade. The tires are going to need to be changed. The upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. This is all change. But the mind's craving for permanence, when it is confronted with this scratch, it doesn't like this impermanence. So it gets angry and frustrated. So you need to be able to see this in your own life. You can't use what I'm sharing with you to just believe this. You need to look at your own life and see this for yourself. So look at a recent situation when you were angry or sad or frustrated. You can do this now if you like. Maybe it was yesterday, or maybe it was this morning, or maybe last week. You were angry and frustrated. Look at that situation with these fresh eyes. What was it that you were longing for? What were you wanting and expecting? And if you would have gotten what you wanted, you would have been happy or excited about that. But because the mind didn't get what it wanted and what it expected, it experienced anger, sadness, or frustration. Because at that time, you might have been trying to blame somebody else for what you were experiencing, but you need to look at it with these fresh eyes to be able to see the wisdom and have a breakthrough. Because if you can see that it's your own mind that's having these feelings and causing these feelings, then you can actually fix it. But if you continue to think that it's other people who are causing these feelings, you'll never actually be able to fix this. You'll just go through your entire life being angry and sad and frustrated, having stress and anxiety, guilt and fear, and all these other discontent feelings. So I'm going to stop in a little bit and open up for questions. If you're having difficulties to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, you can let me know. I will help you. There's been plenty of students over the years that needed help with this. So just let me know if you have a certain situation that you firmly believe that it's other people that are causing your mind to experience these feelings. I will help you to be able to see the truth on this. Because once you start seeing that it's your mind holding on and craving permanence, which is causing these discontent feelings, then the solution is to train your mind to let go. And that's what the Buddha shares with you as part of the Eightfold Path, that core central teaching. But the thing that's actually targeting it is breathing mindfulness meditation and generosity. These are the two techniques and practices that the Buddha teaches to train your mind to let go. So that meditation we did this morning where you were focused on the breath, and anytime the mind moves off the breath, you let go. That's what that meditation is training your mind to be able to do. Because the unenlightened mind doesn't know how to let go. That's why when you broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, after you guys broke up, you were still angry or frustrated or lonely or bored or missing that person because the mind wasn't able to let go. But if you train your mind through meditation to be able to let go, now in your day-to-day life, you can have peace and joy because you can understand that, okay, this person is with another person and that's what they're choosing. They're not choosing to be with you any longer and your mind can let go. But as long as you're holding on, you'll continue to be angry or sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling like loneliness, boredom, and others. So the breathing mindfulness meditation, the goal of this isn't to eliminate your thoughts. The goal is to notice them sooner and sooner and cut them off and let them go easier and easier so that in your day-to-day life, you can let go and your mind's not holding on and craving permanence. The same thing is true with this generosity. The generosity is when you're giving and sharing with people without any expectation of anything in return. Sharing your time, effort, energy, and resources. As you're sharing with people, it's training your mind to let go. Because in the unenlightened state with craving, desire, attachment, your mind will tend to be selfish. You will hold on to things. It's my money. It's my phone. It's my food. It's mine, 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 mine. The mind will find it very difficult to share with other people. So the Buddha teaches you to practice generosity where you're regularly sharing with people on a daily basis, sharing your time, effort, energy, and resources without any expectation of anything in return. I recommend you do this to make it easy for yourself in situations where, like, say you're going into a store and you see somebody that's behind you. You could easily hold the door for them and let them go through before you. This is generosity, where you're sharing your time, effort, energy, and resources. But remember, you need to do this without any expectation of anything in return. Because if you're standing there holding the door, expecting them to say thank you, and they don't say thank you, when they walk through the door, you'll be angry and frustrated because you have an expectation. You're craving permanence. Everybody who walks through the door has to say thank you, or else you're going to get angry or frustrated. But the thing is that we live in an impermanent world. Some people are going to say thank you. Maybe you say thank you when you walk through the door and somebody's holding it, but not everybody will. Not everybody will see you even standing there holding the door. Their mind might be so caught up in what they're getting out of this store that they might not even see you standing there. So if you're going to practice generosity, you need to do it without any expectation of anything in return, where you're giving and sharing your time, effort, energy, and resources. So you'd like to be doing breathing mindfulness meditation daily and practicing generosity daily. This is going to train your mind to let go. And now, over a consistent long-term period of time, this, along with other things that you learn on this path, will gradually train your mind to get to the peace and joy and all the other benefits of the enlightened mind as well, where you'll have focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. You'll notice that your mind's performing optimally when you get these pollutions out of the mind. You'll notice that your relationships are harmonious, that you don't have bitterness and harshness in your mind any longer, that you can have relationships that are at ease and are really blossoming. You'll notice you'll get to the point you don't even have a bad mood anymore, that it's physically impossible to have a bad mood. So do you guys have any questions on this craving, desire, attachment, what it's doing in the mind, or any of the solutions? Anything you guys need help with? Yeah, if you could get a microphone, we have some right here. There's a gray button there. You just press it and just wait a second or two, and then you'll be able to talk through it.
I was thinking about what you said before, that the negative feelings that we experience is, this a result of our bad decision before, and then if we keep blaming others and telling us it's bad luck, then it's not ideal as a situation. But I was thinking that for me, when I'm in a bad situation, I sometimes think that I have done my best, and it's just destiny, that it's just bad luck, that I couldn't, that these bad things happen to me. So if like you said, if it is a consequence of a series of my own bad decision, then if I think like that, how do I have the courage to carry on and to let go and move on?
Okay, so I didn't say what you just said. That's not what I said. I didn't say that your feelings are caused by your own bad decisions. I didn't say that. What I'm sharing with you is that it's craving, desire, attachment that is causing your mind to experience these discontent feelings. And you shouldn't think of yourself as a bad person or anything like that. You didn't hear me say that at all during my talk. Instead, what I was sharing with you is that these discontent feelings, the pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither painful nor pleasant, are caused by craving, desire, attachment. The mind's craving permanence. And every unenlightened being, every being that's ever been born, has been unenlightened. Even the Buddha himself was unenlightened when he was born, but then he figured out how to train his mind to get to this peace and joy. So you don't have to feel guilty or shameful that your mind is experiencing this. And it's not from bad decisions. It's from the mind having these pollutions. And as long as the mind has these pollutions, you'll continue to experience this. So when you come to terms with, yes, you understand that these feelings are being caused by your own mind, now it's just a matter of cultivating wisdom, applying the training that the Buddha teaches, and you can uproot that from the mind. And you'll see more and more that the mind's becoming more peaceful and joyful. So for example, like when we were children, we really wanted chocolate and ice cream. And we maybe begged our parents for chocolate and ice cream. And if they gave it to us, we were really happy about that. But if they didn't give it to us, we were angry and frustrated, right? And we had that experience throughout throughout our childhood. But at a certain point, we were like, you know what, chocolate and ice cream, been there, done that, had enough of that. You're not going to base your emotions any longer on whether you get chocolate or ice cream, because your mind has let go. No longer craving chocolate and ice cream every single day the way that we did when we were a kid. But as a kid, we had that craving for chocolate and ice cream, and we could only be happy if we got the chocolate and ice cream. And when we didn't get it, we were angry and frustrated. So at some point, our mind let go of that craving, desire, attachment. So that's what you need to do with all these other aspects of your life, whether it's some situation that you're in with your friends or family or your coworkers. Your mind's craving something, and the mind's going to start arguing and being bitter and harsh and hostile to people. And it's just damaging your relationships, because if you put out this bitterness and hostility, it's just going to keep coming back to you. So you need to be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. And then when you apply the training and the techniques to uproot it, you'll see that it's actually working to improve the condition of your mind in your life. So you can go on in life, because that was your question. How do you go on in life? Is understanding that you don't currently understand everything about this world that you need to understand. That if your mind's experiencing things like anger, sadness, stress, anxiety, guilt, shame, fear, and all these other feelings, then there's certain wisdom about this world that your mind hasn't cultivated yet, and there's work for you to do. That's what the teachings of the Buddha are for. It's a personal growth plan. It's this inner work, this inner growth to be able to heal from what hurts you so that you never need to hurt ever again. But what's hurting you is inside your own mind. It's not the outside world. What people tend to do is they try to go around the world and fix the outside world. The mind's craving permanence, and it thinks if I can just get everybody else to do things my way, then the world would be perfect. But you'll never get to peace and joy, because there's 8 billion people in the world, and you can't convince all of those people to do things your way. So you need to be able to train your own mind. So it's just a matter of acknowledging the truth is that, okay, this mind lacks wisdom, and therefore it needs to cultivate this wisdom. It needs to do this training. Just like you learned how to wash this body and clean the body, you need to learn how to clean the mind. That as we were growing up as a child, we learned how to clean the body, and we realized eventually that this was a wise thing to do. When we first learned it, we didn't really like it because we were busy playing and we didn't want to go take a bath and take a shower. But over time, we started seeing the benefits of it, and we were like, wow, this is nice. I think I'm going to start doing this on my own now. And our parents didn't have to tell us to do it. But we might not have learned how to clean our mind. If you grow up and you didn't learn how to clean the mind, then that means you're going around with this mind that hasn't been cleaned. And if you went around with this body for multiple days, weeks, and months, years without even cleaning the body, you'd be very uncomfortable. So there's this physical body that's part of this living being that you are, but then there's also this mind as well. And if you're not cleaning that, then of course an individual feels uncomfortable with stress, anxiety, frustration, and all these other feelings. So it's just a matter of looking at it and seeing the truth and then saying, okay, yeah, this mind is unenlightened. No big deal. There's lots of unenlightened beings in the world. And now let's just cultivate the wisdom, apply that wisdom, and experience improved results by training the mind and cleaning the mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. I don't see any other questions either here or online. So let me share with you guys this next one, because the next one is anger. Because when you, again, having these cravings, desires, attachments, when the mind's getting what it wants, it gets the happiness, it gets pleasant feelings, elation, thrill, euphoria. But when the mind's not getting what it wants, it gets anger, sadness, frustration, and others. And when this anger is arising, that's where the bitterness, the harshness, and the hostility comes out. And when you're putting that out towards people, you might actually think you're justified in that conduct. You might think that this other person is causing you to be angry, so therefore the bitterness and hostility, you might think they deserve it. Where in reality, you can see, if you look at this closely, that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, and the last thing you would be interested in doing is being bitter and harsh and hostile to people. Because as long as you put out that bitterness, harshness, and hostility, it all just keeps coming back to you over and over and over and over again. So you'd like to get to the point where you don't have this hostility in your mind. And there's training that the Buddha shares with you to be able to help you to accomplish this. He shares with you what's called loving kindness meditation. This is a different meditation than we did this morning. It's a meditation that essentially rewires your mind to have loving kindness. Loving kindness is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, active goodwill towards all beings. And this is a completely different meditation than what we just did this morning. And it's kind of like filling up your gas tank. In the morning, you usually do this meditation, and it fills up your mind with this love and this kindness towards others. And then you go out into the world through your intentions, your speech, and your actions, and you practice being loving and kind. Sometimes when you have difficult relationships where you're struggling in the relationship, you might think the way to solve this is to fix the other person. That's typically what we did, right? Like mom and dad, maybe you're having difficulties in those relationships, or brothers and sisters, or your life partner, or people like this. And you might be trying to change those people to do things your way. And you might think this is the way that you're going to get to peace and joy in those relationships. But you can't change other people. It's not possible. You need to change your own mind, understanding that people are going to make decisions differently than you. That is impermanence. But what the mind does is it craves people to make decisions in the same way as you. You have this desire, this want and expectation for mom and dad or brothers and sisters, your life partner or children to do things your way. And when they do things your way, you're happy about that. Or you might like these people. But when they don't do things your way, you might be angry or frustrated, have dislike towards these people. That dislike is coming from your own mind because the mind is having this craving for permanence. If people do things your way, you'll like them. But if they don't do things your way, you'll dislike them. And the challenge with this is that there's only one person in the world that actually does things your way 100% of the time. Do you know who this person is that does things your way 100% of the time? Yourself, right? You're the only one who does things your way 100% of the time. So if you can only love people who do things your way, then that means you can only love yourself. And you might even have difficulties doing that from time to time because you're putting expectations on yourself and you're not meeting those expectations permanently. It's not possible. So you need to be able to separate the choices and decisions that people make from the person themselves, where you can love the person, meaning you have a genuine interest in seeing them be well, while disagreeing with the choices and decisions that they make. Understanding that because of the universal truth of impermanence, that people are going to make decisions differently than you. And that's okay. But with the mind's ego in the unenlightened state, you'll think your way is the right way and everybody else's way is the wrong way. And when you see them doing it their way, you're going to think that they're doing it, quote unquote, the wrong way. And now you'll be angry or frustrated or agitated with them. So you need to get to the point where you can love people as they are, understanding that you're going to disagree with their choices and decisions sometimes, and that's okay. And what will help you to be able to get to that point is the loving kindness meditation. It will help you to rewire the mind to be loving and kind towards all beings. And this is a meditation that I teach in other settings, and you can learn this. It's been recorded many times. It's in the books. All of this stuff is available for you at no cost to be able to learn how to do these things. Because the loving kindness meditation is going to knock down that bitterness, harshness, and hostility. So that way, through your intention, speech, and actions, you can be loving and kind. And that's where the real transformation is occurring. When I was growing up, I had a lot of hostility towards my mom because I had all these expectations for her. And she wasn't the mom that I wanted her to be, right? You might actually have that experience too, that your parents aren't doing things your way. And that's because they're different people than you. They're going to make decisions differently than you. Your parents will never meet your expectations, just like you will never meet your parents' expectations. But it's the expectations that's the problem. So when mom and I would get together, it was like fireworks. And I constantly tried to change mom. But you can get to the point where you understand that this individual has had different experiences than you in life. And of course, they're making decisions differently than you. And that's okay. They're making decisions that they think are in their best interest, and you can disagree with their choices and decisions while still loving the person. And instead of trying to change mom and dad, you need to change your own mind to think of them in more loving and kind ways, so that now when you spend time with them, you can be loving and kind with them. As long as you're being bitter and harsh and hostile to your friends and family, all of that's just going to keep coming back to you. You will not eliminate anger through more anger. So if mom and dad and other people are angry, you're not going to eliminate that through you being angry back at them. If you're going to eliminate this anger, you need to bring in loving kindness, where you have a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. And this meditation is going to help you, but then you're going to need the Eightfold Path, because that's where you can learn about right intention, right speech, and right action to be able to now practice being loving and kind in all situations. So do you guys have any questions on this anger? Yes, sir. The mic's not on yet.
Hello.
Yes.
I have a very pressing question about feelings of when you talk about loving kindness, meditation, and all this. What about people who always feel victimized? For example, they're at the wrong place at the wrong time. They feel being persecuted for things that are not their fault. For instance, you could be in a building and then it collapses on you, and you say, "Oh, I'm in the hospital for 3 months, 6 months. I can't work. Broke my leg because a car hit me when I was walking on the road."
Yeah.
Normally. So what are your views on situations that you feel you feel some kind of anger or frustration that you think, I mean I don't know about the adage that people say you turn the other cheek, right? When you say, "Oh, someone hurt me, so am I gonna just bear with them?" And so I don't know, I come across people, or even myself sometimes, with very impatient or even frustrations when I feel that, there's situations that are out of my control. I didn't do anything bad. I did everything, follow all the rules, and yet the results weren't what I expected, or I was just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And what happens in those situations?
Yeah, so everything you're experiencing is a result of decisions that you're making. There's a cause and effect. That's what the natural law of karma, or some people call it karma, is. It's a sequence of events. But there's 5 things that you can't avoid, no matter how enlightened you are and how wise of a decisions that you make. You're going to experience sickness, aging, death, loss, and destruction. You can't avoid these 5 things because of impermanence. You're still going to always experience that. Even as an enlightened being, you'll still experience sickness, aging, death, loss, and destruction because of impermanence. But the difference is that in the enlightened mental state, you won't experience the anger and sadness and frustration when you're experiencing those things. As an unenlightened being, let's just say you lost your phone, you might be really angry or frustrated about that. Right? But as an enlightened being, you understand that this phone is not permanent, and you're not holding on to it and craving for it to be permanent. But you're living in the middle, where you're making wise decisions to ensure that you maybe put a protector on it and you keep it, attended to. But you understand that at some point this phone is going to break. Someone's going to steal it. It's going to get misplaced. You're going to lose it. At some point, this phone is not going to be in your possession anymore. So as things are coming and going in and out of your life, you need to get to the point where you're not holding on to them permanently. So in these different situations that you're describing, see, we have impermanence everywhere around us, right? The books are falling down, right? This is just impermanence. That's all it is, right? And you can just be at ease and understand, like, that's not destiny. That's not fate. That's not good luck or bad luck. That's not God or some entity called the universe. It's not other people that are causing any particular thing. You can reside peaceful and you can reside joyful, just understanding, that's just impermanence. And now we just put the books back and no big deal, right? So an individual is going to experience sickness, aging, death, loss, and destruction. This is normal. But an individual that is in the unenlightened state with their craving for permanence, they will really struggle during those periods of time. So you need to be able to look at any given situation to determine whether or not there were any unwise decisions that you made that led to that particular result, right? So for example, I don't know, maybe I can use this young lady's example who asked me a question the other day. She's over there, actually. She broke her ankle, right? You broke your ankle, right? Can I use your example? Okay, so she broke her ankle. She took a Grab taxi, and the Grab taxi got into an accident, and she ended up breaking her ankle. And what I was sharing with her is that, there's a sequence of events here. There's decisions that are being made, and you need to look at each decision and decide whether or not this was a wise decision or not. And, getting on the back of a motorbike with someone you don't know and you've never met this person in a country where motorbikes are known to have accidents, there's a sequence of events here. She's not being punished for anything. There's no entity or like the universe or God that's controlling that. It's not good luck, bad luck, destiny, or fate. It's just a sequence of events of certain decisions. And now you just need to make the decision of, am I going to continue to take motorbike taxis, understanding there's the risk of accident, or would it be wiser to be able to take a car taxi? And of course, there's more money involved in taking a car taxi. But if you're craving and you're holding on to your money, then you won't be willing to do that, right? The mind's going to put itself in a situation that could otherwise cause problems. So you are going to experience sickness, aging, death, loss, and destruction. But with each one of these situations, wherever you're experiencing things, if you're having any kind of emotions or feelings, those are always coming from your own mind. It's not coming from the outside world. So you need to be able to solve whatever the craving for permanence is that's producing those discontent feelings, and then look at the decision and say, well, if I continue to take a motorbike taxi, it's only a matter of time before there's an accident. If you take 100 or 1,000 different taxis over the course of 10 years, you're going to eventually get into an accident. Same thing with a car. Eventually, you're going to get into an accident with a car too. It's just a little bit safer, right? Because you've got more protection. So when you're blaming the outside world for the things that you're experiencing, then you never get a chance to cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and experience different results. But if you look at each situation to figure out what can I have done differently to experience a different result, this can be very empowering because now you can make different decisions and experience improved results. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you said expectations are the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Or is the goal then to eliminate all expectations? Because I think they're always there. So yeah, is that the goal, or is it to adjust expectations based off of context, situation?
It's to completely eliminate them. Because as soon as you have an expectation, no matter whether it's here or here, because of the universal truth of impermanence, it can't always be met. It can't be permanently met. So you're sabotaging your ability to be peaceful and joyful, because as soon as you draw a line and this is my expectation, then because of impermanence, it's not going to always be met. And now you're going to be frustrated and annoyed. The example I'll use for this, since my son just walked in and it's an easy example, is, my son, he's 13 years old. He goes to school. He has certain grades. And as a parent, I'm interested in seeing him get good grades, right? I would like to see him get all A's, right? So I guide him in how to do that. I don't have an expectation that he will get A's, but I'm in the middle, right? So if I have an expectation that he has all A's, when he doesn't have A's, I'll be angry and frustrated. But if I was all the way on the other side where I could care less about what grades he has, then I would not be peaceful and joyful there either, because your son's coming home, they're not getting an education, and now they're not able to make wise decisions and improve their life. So instead, you can come to the middle where you're interested in them getting good grades, and you have this objective and this goal, and now you guide them politely, kindly, respectfully towards making wise decisions to accomplish those grades, right? But of course, there were times where he would come home, he had F's sometimes, and I would look at his grades, and I was like, what happened here, right? Like, why is this happening? And he would be like, oh, this, that, and the other thing, and he would talk about his different decisions. I was like, well, we need to get some improved decisions here. Why don't we go talk to your teacher and find out why they gave you this F? And then we would go talk to the teacher, and we would have discussions, and the teacher would say, okay, you need to do this better, you need to do that better. And he would explain, like, this is exactly what you need to do to improve that. And my son understood. He said, yes, I understand, Dad. It makes sense. Okay, perfect. 3 months later, still an F, right? I was like, what's happening? Son, you can make better decisions than this, right? I thought we had this solved. So I can guide him in towards making wiser decisions to get better grades. But if I have an expectation, when he came home, I would be yelling and hollering and upset and pressuring him and forcing him to try to get the grades that I think that he should get. But instead, when you're in the middle, you can guide this person, right? So that's what the Buddha is teaching you, is to come to the middle. But as soon as you have an expectation, it's going to cause discontentedness because it can't be met permanently. Then it's going to motivate unwise moral conduct, and you're going to damage your relationships. So you like to get rid of expectations and now just make the decisions that you would like in order to be able to experience the things that you're going to experience, right? And then this will be able to allow you to navigate the world peacefully. Mm-hmm. Yep, you're welcome. Another question? They just take a second to engage. They're Buddhist microphones. You need patience with them.
Thank you. Sorry, this is a follow-up question to what you just said. I don't think it entirely addresses the point because, like I said, everybody has expectations in their daily lives. You expect to go out, you're not going to be attacked or get hit by a car when you're walking on the road when it's another person's fault. For example, you walk on a bright street and the guy was drunk or he was high on drugs. It's not your fault. You're just walking. I got hit by a bike and the guy was just drunk or he was weaving across the street. I was walking and got hit by a bike. It was like 6 stitches and he ran off. Yeah. But that's besides the point. So this is a two-pronged question really. When you do things normally and then bad things happen to you, you will feel, oh, what did I do wrong? And then for me, maybe I'm not that enlightened. I have feelings, I have anger, frustration, or even a retribution. I hope he gets some retribution. So the second part of the question is, if such things happen, when you said, oh yeah, we shouldn't have expectations, but everybody does, I think, that I know of in society. Because you expect I pay something, I get a proper food. I don't expect there's something wrong. So the second part, sorry, is when such things happen, is it normal? Is it bad to have feelings of anger, frustration, or pursue recourse or retribution? So you go to a complaints bureau, or you sue someone, or you go to the authorities saying, I followed everything, or you get dismissed for something you didn't do. When bad things happen to you out of your control, when you followed everything, you live life day to day, following all the rules. Right.
Okay. So as soon as you say something like everybody has expectations, that is to say that the world is permanent. And you're speaking in absolutes. And this isn't true. If you look in the world around you, the world is constantly changing. There's nothing in this material world that is permanent. But your mind, because of its lack of wisdom and its craving for permanence, the mind will think that things should be permanent. So that's where when you say things like everybody has expectations, that is to assume impermanence, that the world is permanent. So you need to be able to see that the world around you is not permanent. And not everybody has expectations. An enlightened being has no expectations whatsoever. You're expecting to go outside and for this body to be comfortable and safe, but you don't live in that permanent world. You're craving permanence while you live in an impermanent world. You're going to go out here sometimes and this body is going to get injured. That's normal because this body is not permanent. You are going to experience these things no matter what. Even as an enlightened being, you will experience sickness, aging, death, loss, and destruction. It's going to happen. But your mind is craving permanence. So that's why when you go outside and now this body gets injured, you're angry and frustrated. So is it normal? It's normal for an unenlightened being to experience anger. Sure. That's very normal for an unenlightened being. But there's this better way of life that the Buddha taught. And by you learning it and practicing it, you can get to the point where you don't experience that anger and sadness and frustration and all those other feelings any longer. So it's normal for an unenlightened being, but there is this better way of life. And you can see here in Thailand, people are fairly peaceful. Not everybody's enlightened, of course, but people are practicing the teachings for a good large majority of people are practicing the teachings. So that's why you see things are quite peaceful here, in my opinion, here in Thailand, and people like to come here a lot because of that. So there is this better way of life, but it's completely different than the way your mind currently thinks. But that's the whole problem. That's actually a lead into this next part. It's not just you, it's every unenlightened being is like this. There's this unknowing of true reality, this lack of wisdom, this ignorance or this confusion or misunderstanding that the mind has. And as long as the mind has this misunderstanding and this confusion, it will continue to crave and it will continue to have anger. So what you're doing on the path to enlightenment is you're cultivating wisdom. You would like to cultivate wisdom, and that's why the teachings of the Buddha aren't based in belief. You're never interested in believing any teachings. You need to be able to see the truth. So that's why I shared with you that the world is impermanent. You need to be able to see that, and that your mind is craving permanence. But because of this lack of wisdom that the mind has of how the world truly works, it will continue to crave and continue to have all these anger coming into the mind. So the mind needs to develop a wisdom of things like the three universal truths, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the five precepts, the Brahma Viharas, the natural law of Gamma, the seven factors of enlightenment, extensive meditation training, the 10 fetters. As you gain wisdom of these things, you'll be able to see how the world truly is. And now that's what it means to awaken, is to cultivate wisdom. But the mind oftentimes holds on to what it currently thinks about the world, and it's unwilling to consider this wisdom that is out there. Oftentimes, when the mind's confronted with this lack of understanding, the mind will push away what it's currently has the opportunity to learn and understand. So for each individual being, if they're interested in improving what they're experiencing in their mind and in their life, there's a path here that the Buddha shared. And it's up to each person to decide if they would like to learn that path. We make the path available to people without any expectation of anything in return. We just give it away for free. So if you guys would like to learn to cultivate this wisdom, I recommend people to start with this first book. You can actually download it from our website for free. You can take it and go print it yourself. You can get printed versions here by reimbursing us for the printing cost so that we can use those funds to purchase more books, or you can order it on Amazon. This is the best place to start because you need to cultivate wisdom. Because while we call it craving, anger, and ignorance, it's really because of ignorance that craving and anger continues in the mind. The mind has to be able to see true reality and see how the world is truly constructed. Because as long as the mind doesn't see that true reality, you're operating through false beliefs, false opinions, and false views. And that's why there'll be continued anger, frustration, and all these other discontent feelings. So it's the cultivation of wisdom through investigation of the teachings, through reflecting on them to be able to independently verify if they're true or false, and then practicing those teachings that are going to lead to improvement to the condition of your mind in your life. This is why there's no rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer in the teachings of the Buddha. If you've been exposed to those kinds of things through exposure at temples and things like this, those aren't the teachings of the Buddha. He never taught any rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer. He's teaching you to cultivate wisdom and train your mind. And that's what's actually going to lead to improvement in your day-to-day life. So just as a little summary, and then I'll open up for one last round of questions, is that we talked about the three poisons, the three unwholesome roots, or the three fires of craving, anger, and ignorance, or sometimes people refer to it as greed, hatred, and delusion, or desire, ill will, and confusion. This is what's motivating all the unskillful decisions that lead to unwholesome results in our day-to-day life. Then there's antidotes to these, which are the exact opposites. Craving is holding on to things and wanting them to be permanent, when in reality you live in an impermanent world. So the opposite of that is generosity, where you train the mind to give and share with others. Anger, hostility, and bitterness, it's producing disharmony in your relationships. The opposite of that is loving kindness, where you have a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. And then that ignorance, or the unknowing of true reality, the lack of wisdom, the opposite of that is wisdom, right? If you cultivate wisdom, then you understand how the world truly is. So it's getting rid of these craving, anger, and ignorance and arising generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom that's going to transform your mind and your life. So on this path to enlightenment, you're gradually bringing down the craving, anger, and ignorance, and you're gradually increasing your generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom, making more and more decisions through that. So do you guys have any questions on what was shared here today? No questions? Okay. So what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to end class by thanking you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to learn. Thank you for your questions. As you guys would like to learn more, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm actually going to take a little break here up to 11 o'clock, give you guys a chance to rest and relax. And then starting at 11, I'm going to share the 5 precepts, helping you guys to understand these 5 impactful decisions. If you'd like to learn more, you're more than welcome to come back. And then at 2 o'clock, we have the walking meditation I'm going to be teaching. If I don't see you after the break, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. Perhaps I'll see you guys in a future class. Be well and take care. Sawadee Kap.